Bythjul.com. Däck och fälgar online direkt hem till din dörr eller närmaste verkstad. Invited to Ibiza and the first test drive of the new Toyota CHR. Toyota calls it a concept car for the road. And sure, its design is eye-catching and interesting. That is also what made its predecessors sell in very big numbers in Europe. More than 840,000 sales. And Europe is the center where they aim for the same success again. C-Class SUV that is supposed to bring the intuitive functionality combined with practicality, comfort and modern interior design. Above the exterior design, then of course. But it's not only the design elements that is on the plate to catch customers. A lot of energy and time has been spent in the environmental department when creating this new CHR. A lot of recycled materials, weight saving and production processes to lower carbon emissions. The CHR provides you with a 1.8 liter and a 2 liter hybrid version, the latter with intelligent 4-wheel drive, which means a battery on the rear axle and a little more power. But there is also a plug-in version on its way in. So let's set off. And this is what I was expecting, you know, sitting rather high. This is a coupe high riser, CHR, that's what it stands for. So you sit a bit high to get that feeling of driving an SUV. But I don't like that, because it feels like you're sitting on top. If you can get down, it's all right. And if you can get your steering wheel up a bit higher, then it's okay. But now it's like driving a little lorry or a bus. But the thing is, the positive thing is that you have a great vision out and you have some sporty attitude and ambience. And from the inside, you can really see the, that nice avant-garde design. The dashboard here and a little touch of that front bonnet. It looks rather inviting. So it starts off very smooth ride, but as soon as this engine kicks in, well, it gets a bit harsh. And that CVT gearbox, well, it's been renewed at higher speeds or at some different speeds. It should be lowered by 500 RPM. So yeah, a bit more down-toned because it can rev up and it can feel a bit hysterical. We're talking a lot about, you know, sharpening up that throttle response, and yeah, well, you need to set it back to back with the older one to really see the difference in that one. I got a question on how to get into those different drive modes, if you need to dig into the system here or if there was just a switch. And here we are. A rather funny switch because it's almost cut off, so you need to put your finger on it and touch it, but it's there, so you can change it rather quickly. Driving modes in that one, then you get into sport, and it's normal, and then it's eco. So, you know, that's good. Quickly accessed. Usually talk about this, about the steering wheels in Toyotas, because I don't think they look that very pretty. This one looks a bit like a SUV, that like the Land Cruiser, something that would sit or fit in a SUV of some kind. But this one is rather nice. You got some pinned holes here, which makes it, you know, a bit more ventilated, and it's a very, very good grip. The steering wheel, all in all, feels rather great, and it looks a bit better. So progress there. The power output on this 2-liter engine is 200 horsepower. I think that's plenty enough, especially when it's got that little EV motor on the rear axle, which makes it all-wheel drive. So it's called intelligent all-wheel drive. You know, that provides a bit more grip, I think, especially when it's wintertime, and some more performance maybe out of the corners when you start pushing it a bit more. But as you run along like this, you know, driving 70 kilometers an hour, it is a very smooth ride. It feels luxurious. It gives me a bit of a Lexus feeling in the way it rides. It is very, very comfortable. Now, of course, the roads here, they are smooth as silk. So you want to set it on maybe some Swedish B-roads. Here is a cyclist just running across the road. Maybe it should have detected that, because the camera in this car is wider, is better, and it detects, you know, traffic and pedestrians and cyclists quicker. And now we need to go to the right. You can hear a little wind noise here at 100 kilometers an hour. But apart from that, the cabin is well isolated. It's very, very quiet in here. They talk a lot about that the agility is a lot better, the response is better, steering inputs are better. And overall, it's a lighter car. And that was also a question about the 1.8 liter engine. How can it be more efficient compared to the previous one? Well, of course, technology, advancements, new components, and more components that has reduced the weight. That's the thing. It's a lighter car. And of course, you get a better consumption when you drive a lighter car. So the battery has 30 kilowatts and you get 40 horsepower from that battery. So it provides you with some extra power. So this display here, the graphics, they are updated. It's been a rather long wait for that. You knew that it was coming in these models, because when you see that the higher end Lexus cars or the medium range Lexus cars got the update on the newer ones, well, then of course you know that it will be dropping down into these cars. And it's functional. Do you know, there's no fancy stuff about it, and I like that. It has a sport mode, so you know, sport needs to be tested. So it only says traction control turned off, but this symbol is for the ESP, the electronic stability program. But it doesn't look like it wants to be shut off completely. Okay, let's do a overtake here. Full throttle in sport mode, and you know, it works. But it's a strange feeling when pushing it like this. It's a strange feeling. And of course, 200 horsepower in a little car like this, well, it makes for a decent performance. But it's not super engaging, and I think we all knew about that. When you don't got a gearbox that selects gears, a lot of that charm disappears. But when driving a bit more ambitious, the seats are very sporty and good. They keep you in place. The brakes, they don't feel jerky in this regenerative feeling. There's no, you know, jerky travel or anything. And I must say that the brakes, they feel all right. You can feel that they give you the input immediately. They are rather okay. But you know, you lift off and then you go on the throttle again. Well, it's all right. But I think they're there. They have a bite and they're rather progressive. So the brakes, updated and good. And there's some more weight to the steering when driving in sport. You know, it bites. It's a bit wider track on this one, so it has got some grip. Of course, there's some understeer to it, and maybe this one gives a little power so it can really push around the bends. It's just so we don't get one coming from the other side. Rather good. It's a good body control overall in this little format. It's just that the engine is not keeping up. No. So once again, this car is more be consistent with your speed and don't thrash it or don't be too enthusiastic. It's not what it's made for. Even though this chassis, if you could put in like 300 horsepower in it and strengthen it up a bit more, I think it could be a very cool car. But it's a sporty cabin, and that invites you to driving a bit faster, even though it can't really level up to the same experience as you would want it to. Especially seeing it from the outside, stepping into it. Is it a disappointment in that area? Well, no. And I don't think the customers for this car, they buy it for the design and this feeling of sitting a little higher, but being cocooned and feeling stylish. That's the thing. And I think that's the thing of the success with the previous one. So the 35mm wider stands and the larger wheels, of course, they get more grip. And that is something that you feel on these ones, especially when driving. It is very grippy. And it's not like it becomes dramatic in any way, because, you know, it starts to understeer a little, but it has done a rather good job when stressing it a bit over the normal level. So when puttering around in town like this, well, then it becomes rather efficient, and this is a bit of what it's made to do. Also look cool in town, and that's what the Europeans like, and the customers for this car, that's what it's aimed for. They want this environmentally friendly type of car, improved in that way. and also that the style is maintained, which it is. And the combined consumption for this one is 5 liters per 100 kilometers, which is fair enough. And you got this digital rear view mirror, which I like. I like these more and more. Gives you a good perspective, and the resolution is good. Also this head-up display, rather small, but it's clearly displayed. So that battery pack is 1.5 kilos lighter than the previous one, but yet it produces 14% more power. So looking around from the cockpit area, the visibility is good when driving around in town, and also you got good control of where you got the car. So in town, it's a good city car. When you watch back, well, you know, small window at the back, but that's the trade-off. If you want it to look sporty and have this design, well, then you just have to buy into that. Okay, so we just drove the 2-liter version. Felt rather sporty with its bigger tires, 245, 40, 20-inch with that electric motor on the rear. The power is not, you know, it's not overwhelming, but it works. It also got that newer chassis setting, and they explained it to us how it works. And I must say it does the job rather good. So what we do now is we're stepping over to this red one. And this is the 1.8 liter version. It's a bit more efficient, but let's just get in and try it out. All right, let's fire up the 1.8 liter version. And look at this. In this one, we got this panoramic roof, which keeps the temperature on a normal level in here. If it gets colder or warmer, it keeps the temperature rather well. So it's got some infrared coating on it. But I like this. Physical buttons here, I think it's just great. Everything is not being packed into this system here with touch. Even though it could work because the graphics are splendid, it's rather quick. And you get used to that in more and more cars. So this 1.8 liter gives you 140 horsepower. Well, the most efficient one until the plug-in hybrid will arrive later. Of course, less torque, less power. Well, that means not as good performance as the 2.0. But do you really need it? Maybe this is the smarter choice. Combined consumption is 4.7 liters per 100 kilometers, so a little better. So the predecessor sold more than 800,000 units or cars in Europe. So this is specifically for the European market, and it sets the tone with its design. And I think that this 1.8 liter, you're being more relaxed in a car that doesn't have performance like the 200 horsepower one with that electric motor on the rear axle, because you won't use it as an ambitious driver. You will be driving, I think, just the same as you will do with this one. Kick down, but this is not a rocket. This is really not a rocket. Those 140 horsepower, they're just there to transport this car in a very, very calm manner. So you can feel that there's a big difference on that 2-liter one. Vi skulle av här. So we missed an exit here, and we've almost done that like twice, and it was the same in the Corolla. So this system in here, well, we can take an exit of here, but it doesn't show that you want to get off here, you know, emphasizing a different little square here or an arrow. It's a bit irritating, that one, in the navigation. It should really show us more clearly how and where you should take off. A bit frustrating. Here we can see in the dark, we can see this ambient light, 64 different colors, and it changes during the day of what type of outer light it is. When it becomes darker, changes color, so that's nice ambience. And also these physical buttons on the steering wheel, there is not any touch or semi-touch buttons. They're just big and very honest in their shape. And you can get it into B and it starts to regenerate a bit more. It's not like a one pedal drive because it isn't that strong, but it breaks down a bit more and charges the battery in a better way. And this CVT becomes a bit more settled down in some way. So 0 to 100 in 9.9 seconds. Well, there you are. doesn't stir the blood in your veins. For a newbie, getting into a car, not minding the performance and just buying it for the looks, which it has been sold on. But that look can also fool you a bit, because you might think that this is a crispy car. But for the small family, small kids, or if you're alone, or if you're just a couple, then this is a rather good car in its C segment. It is very safe, it's reliable, it is comfortable to drive in. You got all the conveniences that you need, all the equipment, so it's just an average good car in that way. It's fun to look at. It doesn't get boring after a couple of weeks. And there's also this My T app, which you can check the status through your phone, and you can also use that without a key to enter your car, and maybe preheat it and those sort of things. Just blind corners everywhere. And it's uphill, so this is not the engine to get you there quickly. But yeah, you can feel the difference here. It struggles a bit, and you need to struggle a bit more to get it in right, compared to that extra power from that rear electric motor on the 2-liter version. The brakes, well, about the same. Let's just keep it in here. It's all right, but it doesn't steer in as rapidly and with the same poise. And there we are, a bit of understeer. It's a bit softening in its steering, but the inputs, they're there, but it's, predictable. But I think that if you want to be a bit more driver focused, then you have to choose that 200 horsepower one, the 2-liter. Because that extra motor and those big tires and the extra big brakes, well, they can do the job a little better here. Conclusion and the first test drive impression tells me and gives me about the same feeling that the Corolla gave me. A good quality ride that just makes me satisfied and reassured of what I got. I just like how it transports you and how you need to play along to maintain a consistent good fuel economy. And that makes it a pleasant and comfortable journey. No more, no less from day to day. The looks are great, and that concept theme works. This will hold in the time to come, and that's where it shines. And these customers who care a little extra about design, they are getting some value. Sporty, well, it's alright, but it doesn't invite you to go bonkers in the speedy sections. But I'm looking forward to the plug-in hybrid with a little more power and torque. I already think that one would be my choice.